Investigators are looking at the possibility a Mexican drug cartel killed 8 members of an Ohio family in a pre-planned execution.
The 2 Americans were gunned down in Central Juarez in broad daylight. U.S. consulate employee Leslie Enriquez and her husband, Arthur Redolph, were slain in a drive-by shooting as they were leaving a child's birthday party.
Throughout metro Atlanta, DEA agents say Mexican drug cartels are hiding in plain sight.
And violence continues to grip Mexico as the country's presidential election nears, with over 100 politicians killed in less than 1 year.
Coming to from the farthest heights of America. It's the Bob and Bob Show.
Hey, what's up there, Bob?
What's up?
Welcome, everybody.
Bob and Bob Show.
It is the Bob and Bob Show. CompleteBoxes.com. Go there, create a profile, get crazy. Don't get too crazy, though. Don't start threatening people. We don't deal with that crap.
Yeah, well, you know. That's what Facebook's for, right?
Yep. Well, welcome to the Bob and Bob Show, and we do have a lot to discuss today. Obviously, the immigration policies and children being ripped away from their parents and families, stuff like that. There's a lot of back and forth going on social media, and you can see the mainstream whore media propagandizing everything from the Time magazine thing with Trump and that little girl to constantly drilling everybody about this humanitarian issue.
Well, it is a humanitarian issue.
It is, but first off, they're running from something.
Yeah.
Why are we just going to bring them into this country and start messing with our economy and taking our jobs from us? And I've heard everybody complain, well, they're taking jobs that Americans don't want to do and all this other crap.
Well, it's true. I think it's true.
No, well, hold on now. Listen, when children, they're teenagers, they're going to want to go mow a lawn and make a couple extra bucks in the summer, but they're not going to be able to do that.
Why not?
Because Mexicans and other illegal immigrants have taken those jobs.
Well, if it wasn't a Mexican, it would be the other guy down the street.
What other? Well, is it an American citizen down the street?
I don't know. Person's a person, man.
Well,
but I mean, I'm not saying we should just have open borders and just open the floodgates, because obviously, like you said, they're running from something, and 5 or 6 guys aren't going to be enough to make a mass exodus. There's a serious problem involving a lot of people. So,
well, this separation from the children from the family is happening because they can't identify if they are even family to begin with. So they're using some of these human traffickers, drug traffickers. They're using.
It's another type of human shield.
Yeah, they're using the children to get across the border.
I've got a simple solution for that too, though, man. Well, first of all, I guess documents can be forged. I was thinking, doesn't Mexico have an ID system like everybody else? But DNA tests are pretty quick these days. Just do a mouth swab.
Sure. Okay. They can do that. That costs money. Everything costs money.
Well, holding them costs money.
Well, I mean, the reality is we're not fixing this problem.
Right.
We're just bringing in more citizens to the United States, or someone who wants to become a citizen into the United States.
I'm okay with that, but there obviously is a process.
Well, let me tell you something. These people, most of them, do not want to come here. They're coming here because they have to.
Right.
They want their country. They want it to flourish.
That's how most people got here even before the U.S. existed. It was religious persecution.
Well,
and then famine. It's all the same stuff. It's somebody running from something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I understand people want to come here, and that's fine. Take me. You're tired. You're hungry. You're poor.
Yeah.
That's fine. Do it legally.
Right.
We need to know who you are. And, some of these Mexicans and others, it's not just Mexicans that are coming through the border, but other people, they get given a court date to come back to appear.
Sure.
And they never come back.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of logistics involved in that, I think.
Well, they get lost, throughout the United States, and they just never come back, and they work illegally for the rest of their lives.
We're dealing with really desperate people too, man. I mean, maybe they just want a sandwich and they got to go somewhere to find one.
Sure.
I mean, anything can happen.
But they're coming over here. They're working illegally. Not all of them, obviously.
Yeah.
And they are hard workers.
Yeah.
But they're not. If you're illegal, you're not paying taxes.
No.
So you're over here, you're making money, but you're not paying Uncle Sam like the rest of us.
Well, the bottom half of the United States citizenry isn't paying taxes either. And, they complain about the rich getting a tax cut. Well, the rich are actually paying taxes. If you know what I'm saying? If you're in the bottom half, you're not even paying taxes. I'm talking about federal income tax, by the way. Obviously, our money's taxed 5 ways from Sunday, but,
Well, here's the real issue. Here's the head of the snake.
I think that guy right there those two, they're cool, man.
Oh, yeah.
I got a spare bedroom.
Right. Yeah, come on over. Let's hang out.
I got to say something, though, that I'm noticing with all these pictures we got up here. Nobody's over 25. Not one of them.
Right. Oh, yeah. I don't know.
I mean,
They might
those-
be in their 30s or something.
Those guys look like they might be maybe 30, but they're obviously higher ups. I mean, I'm talking about the young bucks there.
Yeah. Well, they're probably crazier than hell, too.
Dude, they're dead by the time that they don't live that long, man.
Well, here's the problem. The drug cartels have literally just bombarded Mexico with taking over. They're killing politicians. They're killing policemen. They're killing innocent people. They're changing the dynamic of their political structure, which they've been doing it for a long time.
This isn't new. It's decades old.
Yeah.
It's not Trump,
Well, since 2006, this is when everything started escalating because we had a thing called Fast and Furious. I don't know if any of our listeners or viewers remember that, but this was when Hillary, Obama, Eric Holder, they sent guns into Mexico hoping to track them down and lost them.
Well,
Thousands of them.
It was a CIA operation. I just want to say something real quick. It's okay if you don't like the way Trump's handling all this stuff, but if you're going to hate on Trump, you need to be honest and hate on the last 4 presidents too.
Right.
I mean, because that's what's up. That's what
definitely.
it's really about here.
Well, so they did, and there was an operation before this too, where they sent guns into Mexico trying to track them down, and they got lost.
Well, Iran-Contra was 30 years ago, at least at this point.
Okay, so you send thousands of guns into Mexico, and all of a sudden the country goes to crap, and people are running across the border for the next 5 to 7 years or whatever. The drug trade becomes very lucrative in profit, and all of a sudden we have a heroin meth situation in the States that is just going crazy right now. People are dying everywhere.
Let me say something here. I don't really have any real data to back this up other than just observation, but it seems to me, I mean, this is how vice and prohibition work. Criminal enterprise, very, very powerful entities that are in fact more powerful than government in many cases, or working with government. But here's my point. The meth and heroin thing, that boom seemed to happen right about the time that marijuana was largely being decriminalized in states across the nation, either for medicinal use or recreational use, because we all know that medicinal use is, recreation and cloak, and that's fine. I'm cool with everything being decriminalized, but so they lose how many, maybe billions of dollars a year, because now marijuana the market has shifted to entrepreneurs and dispensaries in California and Colorado and wherever else, Michigan, I don't know, wherever else, and they lose all that revenue, so they move on to the next thing, which is heroin.
Okay, well, your prohibition, what happens is it becomes not prohibition, it becomes run by government. Government syntaxes it, and now all of a sudden the government mafia has control of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, that's why this prohibition, heroin is freaking bad as hell, dude.
I know.
And meth is bad as hell.
Yeah, that's why I don't do them.
These are, that's why normal people don't do them, because they're going to kill you.
Well, here's another argument to that, though, too. You hear people about, if we decriminalize it, it's going to get crazy. Okay, in case you haven't noticed, it's already crazy, all right, by the way. Second of all, saying that decriminalizing it equates to a whole bunch of people are going to become junkies. Well, no, they're not, because the junkies that are going to be junkies already are. The law has nothing to do with it. It's available. It's out there. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it. It's like saying alcohol is legal, so I'm an alcoholic. Well, no, I'm a sovereign being with my own sentiments, and I'm sentient, and I can make my own decisions. And I mean, are we all that stupid?
I don't know. When you're a child, here's another thing, though. When you're younger, you're going to test things out, and then you get hooked.
Yeah.
And then the rest of your life is screwed.
Yeah,
I think it should still be illegal. I think at least the real hard murderous type drugs should be illegal. Marijuana does not kill people.
Well, the cartels are murderous.
Well, they need to be illegal too, and they are. But what I'm saying, but are they? I mean, they're able to operate throughout the Mexico, and they're all over the United States, and they're moving these drugs all over the place. People are freaking dying from these drugs.
Oh, we know a bunch
They're
of people
worrying
that
about
have.
these children that are getting tore apart from their families because they can't determine if they are even part of that family or not. They're worried about that, but they're not worried about the thousands of Americans that are dying every year. I think it's, maybe it's tens of thousands that are dying every year from drug overdoses.
Yeah.
And
that's an individual's choice.
if it's plentiful, people are going to do it.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. So let's
Maybe.
Okay,
It is plentiful.
All right, here's my other problem. We went after Saddam Hussein because of weapons of mass destruction. Bush and all that crap. And when they weren't even there, sending drones in, send military troops in, and they took them out. And I'll restabilize the country now.
Well,
Why will the United States not do anything about what's happening right at our borders, right in Mexico, right to the south of us?
Iraq's not stable. Mosul is an ISIS stronghold. It's getting smashed, but
Well, what I'm
we're
saying,
just there advising.
what
them.
I'm saying is
I get what you're saying.
We're running around being world police, but we can't even police the freaking country
we don't
below
want
us.
to. We don't want to
Why not?
because there's too much money to be made. There's too much money to be made in the private prison complex. And the DEA and the CEA are
CEA.
CIA. The DEA, CEA, the BEA, whatever. The DEA and the CIA are fighting against each other, working against each other, I should say. They always have been. The movement of drugs, the enforcement of drugs, the drug war in general makes a lot of money for a lot of people involved in government. The United States government is just as corrupt in slightly different ways as the Mexican government is.
Oh, so we won't go over there and do anything because they're making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, from a financial standpoint of a government mafia, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But for the
That's what it
American
is.
people, we are suffering
Oh, no,
like
it's
crazy.
not the people. Yeah, it's at the expense of the people.
So
Literally, through taxes and also through the oppression that it creates.
yeah, well,
Living under martial law, basically. We don't call it that, but that's what it is.
So Trump is putting out, he's putting it out there on Front Street, the immigration problem. And, I mean, is this a distraction to keep us away from paying attention to what these crazy-ass cartel gangs are doing over
I think
there
it's both.
and here?
It's multifaceted, just like everything, man. You already know that, but
Yeah.
I know why you're saying it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, man, I really don't understand. People want to argue and bicker about this children being taken from their families when they're just. What happened to the MS-13? What happened to all these gangs that
They're still around.
But I'm saying, why is this not like topic number one? Why are people so freaking
Because it's not.
hands across America, liberal? We care about everybody kind of thing.
Because it's not on the cover of Time, and Trump didn't say anything about it recently. I guess he called MS-13 animals, and now I guess all Mexicans are animals. Even though a lot of MS-13 isn't even Mexican. A lot of these immigrants aren't Mexican. They're coming through Mexico. They're not Mexican.
Right.
That
Yeah.
little girl that's on the cover of Time right now, she's Honduran.
Yeah.
Her mother was deported in 2012 or 2013. I don't remember which year. They're not here for asylum. They were here for work, and she was never separated from her family. Those are the facts about that little girl.
Well, I mean, those are the facts that you read.
Yeah.
I've had a few conversations with people where you can read articles from anywhere, and
Yeah.
you don't really know if it's truth or not
Well,
until.
that's why all this is so controversial.
Yeah, well, you can sit here and say, "Oh, MS-13, blah 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 blah," and all these articles. But do you really know? Have you talked to Mexicans that are over here either illegally or legally? I mean, do you know?
I haven't.
I have.
Well, here's one thing I want to say real quick about that little girl. Even though the facts of that don't really matter, it exemplifies a real problem. That's the reality of the propaganda in it.
Well, the reality is these drug lord gangbangers are killing. I mean, I think it's like over 113, 115 politicians and policemen and everything.
It's a full-on war, man.
But they are. If there's a politician in Mexico that is wants to dismantle this drug trade and what's happening, He's done.
His
He
whole
gets killed.
family's done. Whole family.
I mean, we played. I don't know if I played the clip in the beginning, but one politician was running on the fact that he was going to help dismantle these cartels. He comes out and he's doing a selfie with somebody who was one of his supporters, and they walk up from behind him and shoot him in the freaking head.
Yeah. You know what it reminds me of?
What?
It reminds me of when the Tsar's family was taken out.
Who was
Tsar
that?
Nicholas, the Bolshevik Revolution. I think it was 1917 when the Tsar was taken out of Russia and the communists were put in power.
Well,
That's how they did it. They're like, let's do a photo shoot.
Right.
They pull the cover off the cameras. It's not cameras, it's machine guns.
Well, the real humanitarian issue here is in Mexico.
Right.
Like, that is where we need to be focusing our attention on. Our government, our military. Somebody was arguing with me on Facebook the other day about, so you want to put boots on the ground and you want to invade Mexico. No, I don't.
Right.
All over the globe, our military strategically takes out targets.
Well,
we don't have to put boots on the ground. We could send a drone in. I mean, Obama bombed weddings, for crying out loud. Why can't Trump send a drone in there, send some special ops in there, start taking out the heads of these cartels?
The cartels do. They send sicarios into weddings and just slaughter everybody in there, man.
I know. But let's just let them run rampant and do whatever the hell they want. Meanwhile, CIA is having secret meetings with them, propping up one gang more than the other gang, thinking that they're going to slow down this gang war that's happening.
Yeah.
And really, you're just causing more and more war.
Yeah.
Like, stop
there's
it.
money in that.
We can go armed. We can arm Syrians. We can teach Iraq and Afghanistan people how to shoot and train them for fighting and everything like that. But we can't go over to Mexico, give them literally.
Well, we can.
The president won't
We're not
let us?
going to. It has
I know.
nothing to do with the president.
But this is the problem that I have.
It's bigger than the president.
Oh, yeah. Well, their president over there, what were you talking about?
I'm talking about both presidents. I'm talking about all their politicians and ours, man.
Well, we were talking about
this. This is a big monster.
Well, we're talking about this immigration problem, and you were telling me earlier about that president over there in Mexico that was saying that, you guys need to flee.
He's running for president. Let me
he's
get
running
his
for
name
president
here real quick. Yeah, this is crazy. His name... He's a presidential candidate. His name, I almost got it here. His name is Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador. He's calling for mass immigration to the United States. During a speech last Tuesday, he says it's a human right for all North Americans. Well, for all North Americans to live in the U.S. That's what he's saying, pretty much. And this is in quotes, and soon, very soon after the victory of our movement, we will defend all the migrants in the American continent and all the migrants in the world, adding that they must leave their towns and find a life in the United States. I don't understand that. I don't understand that because who are his constituents going to be if they all flee?
Right. Well, he's probably like, get out. We are going to be a major drug exporter, and we don't need any innocent people around us. Like, get out of our country. This is a drug country.
It already is a narco state.
Right. Well, let's just get all the people out of here so we don't have any more innocent people dying, and then let's just keep all the drug cartels here.
I think maybe he's trying to say that the pursuit of life and happiness and liberty are human rights, which they are, just like our Constitution says, but maybe he should focus on, it's easy to say, maybe he should focus on making that a reality in his nation instead of just telling them all to come here. I don't know, man.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was talking about Fast and Furious, I want to correct myself.
Yeah.
I think it was 2000, I said 2006. It's actually, I think began in November 2009. So, and it took place out of a Phoenix office of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives office. So, you see this massive influx of immigration, massive influx of drugs, namely heroin and meth, the big ones, and two major ones. And 2009, now it's 2018, there's people dying on the streets. There's literally, we saw, I don't know, was that last year where there was like a mom and a dad that passed out in their car, looked like they were dead, and the kid was in the back seat or whatever.
That.
This is insane. And people are crying about these children who are being used as whatever. They're being used as pawns or whatever to get into the country, and they're being put in foster homes. They're not being thrown in cages, man. You think that some humanitarian issue here where they're being thrown in cages? Well, they're not. Okay,
Well,
maybe
being-
they're in a detention center for an
Yeah.
hour or something, and then they get processed.
Probably longer than that, but being held in a detention center and being in a quote unquote cage are two very different things. There's always going to be a lot of false information and propaganda out there, and there's always going to be sinister stuff going on. Governments do sinister stuff, even if they're well intended, man. I mean, you and I know this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I don't know, man. I'm all for human rights. Just this problem's a lot bigger than, arguments about kids in cages on Facebook. You got to look at the root of what the trouble is, and it roots in drug policy and massive amounts of money being traded between governments and criminal factions and power grabs, all in the name of drug profits. Because this all roots in drugs. It does. I think in 2011, I think it was 60,000 people in Juarez, Mexico, were either murdered or missing. That's in one city, and that's right across the border. I've been right at the gates of Juarez, down in El Paso. I've seen the houses in Juarez, right there. 60,000 people in 1 year.
Well, nobody wants to acknowledge the fact that these gangs are even here or what they're doing.
They've been here for decades.
I know. Well, I had a few years ago, or maybe it was like 3 or 4 years ago, we had some carpet installers come in, and they were all Mexican. And they actually worked for Home Depot.
Yeah.
So 2 of them couldn't even speak English barely at all. One couldn't at all. The other one real broken. And then the leader, the head guy of the crew, now he spoke pretty fluent English. And after they were done working and, doing what they had to do, we sat on my porch and we drank a couple cervezas.
Dos cervezas, por favor.
And I know, and we started talking about these things, and I'm like, how you like it in America? And he's like, America's great, you should see what it is in our country.
Right.
I'm like, well, what is it like? And he's telling me about how cartels are just running everywhere, how you have to watch your back everywhere you go. They'll come over and they'll take over houses and start cooking meth in there or something, And
that sounds like the stories from Somalia that I've heard, man.
Yeah, well, and I say, well, what about this MS-13 and other gangs? She's like, MS-13, and he's like, they're highly violent. They're the reason that we ran from Mexico.
Yeah.
They tried to recruit me into the gang, and I didn't want to do it. Then, I told him I'd think about it, kind of situation. Like, you try to, push him off.
Trying to get him away.
Yeah, and they came back around, and they kicked down his door, came into his house, and it's like, you're joining the gang. We're going to kill your family. We're going to kill your father. And they held a gun to his father's head. And he's like, okay, I'll do it. Don't worry, I'll do it. And they said, okay. And they gave him tattoo on his face and did a bunch of tattoo work on his neck and stuff like that to brand him probably. And that's when him and his family took off.
Yeah.
Came to the States. And he was already learning English and stuff, he said. So that's why he spoke so fluently. And by the time he got here, they went through immigration. There's a bunch of tests he had to take to get his citizenship and everything like that. And him and his family did it, and they're here. And but he had 2 other guys with him, with tattoos on their faces and necks and stuff like that just literally could not speak English.
Yeah.
He had to translate them back and forth between me and him.
Yeah.
And they were roughneck tough dudes, man. They were like built real raw, But they were awesome. They gave me hugs when they left and everything, They're saying I'm an awesome white guy and all that kind of stuff.
It's because you talk to them, man.
Yeah, well, I learned a lot, and they learned a lot, I told them about our gangs, the Bloods and the Crips, and the Latin gangs that are over here and stuff like that, and they were aware of those already.
Sure.
I think they came in and they were in California for a while, and then they came to Ohio. Like, it was only a couple years before that. So it's obvious that it's real. I know that it's real.
Yeah.
You can watch the documentaries.
Oh, I know that it's real, too.
CNN talks about it even.
I've been looking into this stuff forever, man.
Everybody talks about it. It's real. These drug cartels are real. Taking over the government is real. Not our government, but, the Mexican government.
Our government's infiltrated, too. Not by them, but...
Well, they're playing ball. Because
they're playing ball. It's money, dude.
Yeah, there's a huge money profit involved with it, so obviously they're going to do that. Now, where's this money going? Who freaking knows? Because we're not seeing it. I don't want to see it as blood. It's blood money.
It's the prison industrial complex, man. It goes to the people that own the prisons and run the prisons and are employed by them, and also by the various bureaucracies that are involved. There's entire bureaucracies that they're huge businesses that rely on prohibition vice to make their money, man. Like the DEA.
Well, the government will tell if we
The
were
CIA funds, military clandestine wars with this stuff, man. We're talking about billions of dollars.
Well, if we were arguing with the government right now, you know what they would say to us? They're like, we are doing something. We took out El Chapo. You know, we did this.
Well, there's always cloaks and smoke.
Yeah, well, they gotta feed somebody to the lions to keep us at bay.
Sure.
And so they give up El Chapo. And from what I hear and from what I read, which, I don't know if this is the truth or not, because we are an opinionated broadcast. So we do have some facts here and there, but it's up to the listeners and viewers and everybody else to make their own decisions. But what was the gang that El Chapo? He wasn't MS-13. I forget which gang.
I believe he was the head of Sinaloa.
Yeah, and he. Now that he's gone, they are still running crazy. They're still getting bigger. They're still doing more. Like, you take out one leader, they just put another leader in there. It's not going to stop.
Yeah.
So, and when you see some of these interviews, they actually went into some of these cartels where they're cooking it up and stuff. And the people that are cooking it up and some of the soldiers for these cartels are like, you're not gonna stop this.
Yeah, dude, you can't kill a tree by chopping off a couple branches. They're like, even if it's the top branch.
Oh, one guy, he said,
you got to kill the root.
He said, he's like, what do you think about Donald Trump and building this wall? He's like, it doesn't matter.
Dude, I had an argument, not an argument, more of a debate with a guy last night where that was pretty much my whole point. So he was wall, and I laid out 1,000 reasons why the wall is just silly. It's silly.
Well, listen to what this guy said. He said, let them build the wall.
Yeah.
He's like, the Americans are so addicted. I don't want to pay for it. The Americans are so addicted to drugs over there, they'll break down that wall to get these drugs from us.
Right.
That's what he said. I was like, wow, what?
It's true.
That makes perfect sense.
This guy was a cop, too, and I tried to explain it to him, but he's just... it bounced right off his freaking cop head, dude. He couldn't even absorb what I was saying. It just goes against everything he's believed for so long, and he just couldn't even handle it.
Well, you get trained and you take an oath and you do all these things.
That's what I'm saying.
But you got to take orders too.
Yeah.
So, what do you get trained to do?
Well, he's protecting his paycheck too,
Yeah, they don't want to lose their occupation and they still got to provide for their
This is how it happens, though, you see?
Yes, I do. This is how it happens, for sure.
So I want to say one thing real quick. You were talking about the stories that those guys told you, and it reminds me of a dude... Ishmael Bey, a guy that was in the Ivory Coast, a child soldier there, and what you were talking about, the abduction where they tried to recruit your Mexican buddy there, that is really close to like how they used to basically just run towns over and take all the kids and force them into their army, the child soldiers.
Yeah.
This is a war. It's real, man.
Yeah, it's a humanitarian war. It's a war where there's a war for your mind, there's a war for your body, there's a war for your soul.
Yeah.
And people need to wake the hell up and stop being a bunch of idiots and fighting each other all the time. This is the United States of America. In our intro it says the divided states of America because that's what it is.
Yeah.
And when I was younger it wasn't like that. This division needs to stop. If you want to be gay, be gay. If you want to be a transvestite, be a transvestite.
Yeah. Libertarians don't care. Just don't act like you're don't virtue signal.
Yeah,
don't use it as a way to win arguments just for your fragile ego. That's the useful idiot complex that we've talked about on here.
Well, this is the world is it's full of butterflies and it's full of freaking butterfly swatters. Like you can't have thin skin. This is America. You don't have thin skin. Somebody calls you something, so freaking what? Who cares?
Yeah.
I know racism is here. I know that the left-right paradigm is just tearing everybody apart. Well, it's time to be united. Stop being a bunch of freaking retards, man. Everybody is tired of this crap.
Yeah.
And if you notice, me and you talk to a lot of people, and the only ones that you really see going ballistic on Facebook and all these other platforms are these social justice warriors, these fake liberals, because they're not really liberals. They're not libertarians. They're liberals. They're just the newfound version of it.
It goes back to the root of subversion and some of the stuff we've talked about previously. First you steal the word, and then you steal the meaning. You know what I mean?
Right.
Liberal isn't what liberal was. and a lot of these people, they don't think into it enough. They don't look into it enough, and they think, oh, liberal, it's liberty. Well, it was. It was.
Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, it's not now.
Yeah.
Thomas Jefferson was not for, the thought police.
Right.
It's the opposite, man.
Right.
It's a total flip-flop.
Well, George Orwell pretty much painted a pretty good picture of what's happening. I mean, that's pretty crazy, but that was fiction. So
Yeah.
I don't even know anymore, but, people need to wake up. Stop playing around. Join us at the Bob and Bob Show. If you got something to say, we'll bring you on the show, even if you have opposite views than we do.
Yeah, we can debate,
We've called people out. Nobody's came. We always have like-minded individuals, so...
Wow, already?
Yeah, it's the halfway point. Thanks for listening to Bob and Bob Show. We'll be right back after these following commentaries.
It's the Bob and Bob Show.
Since 2007, Mexico's drug war has caused the deaths of more than 160,000 people. Although the current president has attempted to address this prolific violence, many gangs are intimately connected and protected by corrupt officials. So, just how corrupt is Mexico? Well, Mexico has dealt with corruption since its foundation as an independent state. The first ruling party gained power through rampant electoral fraud and ruled for more than 70 years. Today, the current Mexican president is a member of that party. Corruption runs through every sector of society and is largely based on bribery. Judges are regularly bribed by organized crime groups, leading to fewer convictions and lighter sentencing for criminals. Police are similarly corrupted, and Mexican citizens consider the police to be the most corrupt institution in the country. Law enforcement is sparse, and many have accused officers of working directly with drug cartels. In 2014, a large number of Mexican police officers were implicated in the kidnapping of 43 students, who were then murdered by a drug gang. The huge amounts of money coming in from illicit drug sales primarily fund corruption in Mexico. In 2008, the nation's former anti-drug chief was arrested for accepting nearly $500,000 in exchange for giving drug dealers information about the government's drug enforcement actions. A 2013 poll found that a third of citizens had admitted to paying bribes to public officials. But increased urbanization and a growing Mexican middle class has led to openly denouncing corruption and violence. Although Mexico's current president ran on an anti-corruption platform, he has been embroiled in numerous corruption scandals since he took office. Most recently, in July 2015, he was accused of giving his unqualified niece a high-paying position within the state-owned oil company. Besides affecting the public sector, corruption is rampant in private enterprise as well. In 2012, Walmart was accused of bribing government officials in order to allow construction in a protected space, prompting an ongoing investigation by the US government. Many businesses refuse to operate in Mexico, as the nearly mandatory bribing increases costs and prevents free market competition. In a 2014 corruption index, Mexico ranked 103rd in the world, alongside countries like Bolivia and Niger. Mexico's problems with corruption run through nearly every level of society, and have almost become viewed as tradition. Thus, conventional methods to stop corruption, including legislation and enforcement, have little effect. In fact, some forms of bribery, including gifts and hospitality, are not at all illegal. As the drug war continues to cause widespread brutality, there is little hope for Mexico's citizens to seek protection from their government.
Hey, what's up, everybody? We are back and still discussing the same topic that we've been on, the same topic that the whole nation has been on for the past week or so, maybe even 2 weeks now. It's sad that what is happening over there, and the Mexican people are really getting destroyed over this. And if you're going to sit here and cry about the children being separated from their families, you need to also cry and bitch about drug cartels killing tens of thousands of people over in our country with their drugs.
Well, and in theirs.
Well, that and in theirs. But see, Bob wants prohibition, or he wants to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I want to get rid of the drug cartels. I think that...
Well, it would get rid of the drug cartels.
Well, no, you're just going to lower the price on everything. That's all you're going to do.
Well, they'd have to go into... They'd lose their market, man.
Well, I don't really know. I mean, now you have Anheuser-Busch and other... back from the prohibition from the alcohol situation. Now, these huge, giant companies that make beer, they're profiteering now.
The drugs won't go away. The market for the drugs won't go away, and the money being made won't go away. But what will go away is all the violence that comes with it, because now it's a legal enterprise, and the need for all that being an illicit market goes away. Same with the alphabet soup that goes with it. And that's why it's never going to go away,
Well, dude, what'll happen? So you think that it's okay for it to be legalized, and now, well, and this is the typical thing that people will say, now more people are going to do it, and more people are going to get hooked on it. But they will. Why wouldn't they?
Because they don't now.
Well,
There'll be people doing it just like there is now.
So right now, it's
alcohol.
I don't know how hard it is to get heroin or meth. Okay, I've never seen.
If you wanted, it's out there.
I've never even seen heroin, but I'm sure I could probably find it if I wanted to.
Easily.
But now there's a risk involved, and I can get caught with it. So, that might deter people away from even trying in the first place.
Would it?
I don't know. Would it?
I don't know. When I was 16, it didn't stop me from drinking beer if I could get my hands on it.
Right. Well, if there's heroin and you're 14, 15, 17 years old and you're out here
the only
trying
reason
things.
I'm mentioning the age thing is because that's when it was illegal.
Well, you try heroin, there's probably a 99.9% chance that you're going to become an addict and hooked and die.
Yeah, but the legality has nothing to do with it.
What? It doesn't?
No.
I don't know, man. If it's
that's
hard,
like saying that everybody's going to be an alcoholic because alcohol's legal.
Yeah, well, let's say I'm thinking about the youth, okay?
I know.
When the youth, everybody wants to try something. You and me tried stuff,
Dude, I didn't try heroin when I was a kid because I knew that it was probably a really bad idea. It had nothing to do with
I never even heard about it, but we did hear about acid, LSD. We heard.
I never heard it was a bad idea, though.
Cocaine, these other meth, So
I was never big into any of that.
Yeah, me neither. But it was there. And I could have done it.
Yeah.
And I could have got hooked on it. But it wasn't something that was so plentiful. Like heroin
Well,
and
it
meth.
is if you go into that world.
Heroin and meth are highly plentiful now. And fentanyl, now we're going to get into the big
you
pharma.
get into big pharma then, and that's just another type of cartel.
Right. So what's happening? Are they trying
You know what I see here where this thread is going right now?
Where?
Individual accountability.
Individual accountability.
That's really where it lies.
Well, why let this massive influx of drugs come over here like this? You see what's happening. The more drugs there are, the more addicts there are.
And the more money there is to be made on both sides.
Yeah. So this has to stop.
Yeah.
People won't unite to stop it. They'll unite to stop families being separated.
Decriminalize it.
I just don't see how decriminalizing it's going to help anything.
I don't understand why you don't see it, because it's so obvious, man.
No, because, okay, decriminalizing means everybody, you can just go to the store and buy some heroin? Where are you going to get it from once it's decriminalized?
Maybe just like how you get weed at a dispensary.
So there's going to be heroin and meth dispensaries?
Maybe.
So you can just go in there, buy whatever you want. It'll be cheaper too, because now the risk involved with cartels and drug lords.
Well, would it be cheaper though? Is weed cheaper at dispensaries? Yeah. I don't know.
Listen, in Mexico, you could buy a kilo of cocaine. Let's say, we'll just use some easy numbers here. Let's say $3,000 for a kilo. You move it over to America, in the United States, it's $30,000.
Yeah.
And this is all because of the huge risk factor involved with it, huge markup.
What the consumer at the end will pay is what drives the market.
Well, yeah, and then, the consumer says, well, you got it for $3,000. I'm only going to pay $3,000. Well, a drug cartel guy's going to say, piss off. So is it the consumer that really handles what the market is?
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's supply and demand.
Yeah.
They just like diamonds, they'll hold back diamonds and then increase the price in order to because of scarcity.
Well, yeah, I get what you're saying.
So really, right now, okay, let's say gas prices, $3 a gallon almost, or whatever in some areas. I think it's even more in other areas.
But the consumer does control it too.
How does the consumer control it? You're going to stop buying gas?
Well, you have to have gas to get down the road because we're so dependent on it. That's why it's $3 a gallon instead of 25 cents a gallon.
An addict has to have drugs, so they're going to pay whatever it takes to get it.
Yeah, but addicts aren't going to go away even if it's illegal or legal.
Cars aren't going to go away if they're illegal or illegal.
Will go away?
What?
All the murder and vice that comes with it when it's an illicit market.
I'm sure, yeah.
That's what we're talking about, though, right?
Well, yeah, but if you cut off the supply chain, you can't come out. You
can't do that, though.
Why can't you?
Because there's a demand for it.
There's a demand, but it is killing people. So
the demand ain't going nowhere, even if it is killing people.
Well, if we had an honest government and an honest
that's a good one.
If we had an honest government and a citizenry that cared, then we could cut them off. But we don't, because there's too much profit involved with it.
Right.
And this is what's making the world go round. This is what's making the wars happen. This is what's making people like Donald Trump become a president.
It's what drives power.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunate that like you and me, I'm sure a lot of people classify us as a conservative.
I'm sure we get classified as all kinds
Trump
of
supporter, redneck.
I think an adamant Trump supporter probably thinks I'm actually, I'm going to say the guy I was talking to last night, the cop I mentioned.
Yeah.
He called me a hippie probably 5 or 6 times. I don't know,
Oh, man. You're far from that.
I know, but he doesn't see that because he doesn't know anything really, but whatever.
Well, name calling is always something that
he called me Brotato Chip too, which I thought was awesome.
What?
Like, dude, I'll take that.
Brotato?
Brotato Chip.
Oh my god.
Nah, he was respectful. I could tell he was just getting kind of amped because I think I was just saying stuff that made his head spin a little bit, and he didn't like that. But whatever.
Well, yeah, I think Trump himself, he was placed in the presidency. He's dividing. He's not actually dividing the country.
No, people do that to themselves.
Yeah, well, they're doing it by influence from the media. And Trump will just go around and just call them fake news.
Dude, it's groupthink. It's just, it's not a new concept. It's what's been going on forever. It's groupthink. You get away, you put somebody that is easy to be used as a polarizer like Trump in there, and then you can, you just steer people like handlebars. It's easy. People are easily manipulated.
No, they scroll through Facebook and they just start yelling and screaming and getting all mad.
That's what I'm talking about. And they get lost in the point. They get completely lost in it, and then it just becomes pure idiocy. And then, then the power structures do what they do.
Well, we're talking about drugs and the cartels, but they've moved on even more beyond that. They're actually stealing oil. They're like jacking oil refineries in Mexico
because their drug market's getting taken away, because drugs are being decriminalized here, and markets are being taken by big pharma.
Yeah, big pharma is definitely starting to put their foothold on there, put their clutches on it.
It's hitting them in the wallet, so they're going to go after legitimate enterprises now. And see, that is where a legitimate military intervention would step in.
Well, they're let's see, what I got here. Drug gangs pressure refinery workers to tap the lifeblood of Mexico's oil industry.
This is just like what the mafia did after Prohibition ended. They wanted to keep making their money. They can't make it on bootleg liquor anymore, so what do? They infiltrate unions and start controlling, refuse. The refuse industry, trash companies, and they start infiltrating concrete companies. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's how it works, man.
Well, so now they're going to sell oil on the black market.
Yeah.
And
cheap.
Yeah, real cheap. And why is it? We can go bomb ISIS all over the damn place, and other countries can bomb ISIS all over the damn place.
That's where the money is. It's where the money is, man.
They go after Al-Qaeda. They go after all these different factions of terrorists. Well, these cartels, they're terrorists.
Yeah, I know.
They're not being classified as terrorists.
Terrorism is a tactic. You know what I'm saying? It's like the war on terror. You can't wage a war on a tactic.
Right.
Terrorism is a tactic, and anybody can use it.
Well, they're using why? I just don't understand why they can't go over there and do something about this.
They can.
Why don't they? I'm talking
because their money flow will stop if you beat the. Okay, from the perspective of the prison industrial complex in the United States and the drug enforcement complex in the United States. If we just stomp the cartels out and get rid of it, or if we even just decriminalize the whole thing and take their market away, that whole flow of billions and billions of dollars is gone. It's gone, dude.
So it's drug money. It's blood money.
I know. Power structures don't care
moral.
about that.
This is not moral.
No. When is it?
Well, they're talking about more moral standpoints on these children being taken from families, but this billions of dollars of illegal blood money.
That's what, and the government's implicit in that. It's not going to end because they're making too much money. There's nothing moral about the United States being, having the largest prison population in the entire world. We're supposed to be a free country. We have more prisons than colleges, man.
Yeah.
And there's most of the people that are in prison are not there because they're rapists and murderers. It's arbitrary crap.
They got caught with a pound of weed or something.
Yeah, it's stupid stuff like that, man. And I mean, that is the reality of our nation. It's not about morality. It's about huge money going up, up to the controllers.
Oh, people don't.
And if that all,
We don't have controllers.
I know.
This is a
we do.
free society. Our government is intact, and the Congress is for the people. Okay.
Okay.
I just told you that, so now you have to believe it. That's how that's going to work.
People do actually believe that. That's what they get told in school, and they never question it, man. Not enough people question stuff. And then people get emotionally caught up in things like, you know, the kids being detained at the borders, which, you know, again, for the millionth time isn't new.
Well,
You know
I
what?
hate that, dude. That pisses me off.
Me too.
It's not cool that they do that.
I think we should do one of two things.
What?
Let them in or turn them back.
Okay. But what if they get over here and they're already here and we catch them? ICE gets them.
Are they part of a criminal element?
Well, how do you know?
Find out. Vet them. Are they part of a criminal element?
Okay. If you can't find out, what do? Send them back?
If you can't find out, then the answer is no. It's innocent until proven guilty. Supposed to be.
Well, if you're innocent until proven guilty, what if you're just you've never been documented to be involved in any of this stuff?
Then you're not.
What if you're a Mexican? You have a bunch of tattoos because it's cool, but you don't belong to any of that
There's a bunch
stuff.
of Americans walking around doing the same stuff, man. What are we doing with them?
I don't know. They look pretty crazy, but some of them are really good people.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does tattoos make you a criminal? Obviously not.
I think we should just treat criminals like criminals and treat people that aren't criminals like they're not. And if there's no evidence to say that they are, then they're not.
Well, there's plenty of people that you and I know who have died from this massive influx of drugs.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people that you and I both know who are still on it.
Are we gonna hold Big Pharma accountable for making them addicts or not?
Sure, we definitely Big Pharma needs to be held accountable for a lot of things.
I know,
and so does the Monsanto GMO situation. I mean,
just in case anybody doesn't know, Bayer just bought Monsanto, so you know, Big Ag and Big Pharma obviously have been incestual for a long time. But the negative connotations that go with the name of Monsanto it's not. You know, it's very well known, so that's probably the main drive with the merger. So Bayer is Monsanto, just so you guys know.
Great.
So now hate the name Bayer and everything they stand for.
I never liked them in the first place.
Me neither, but that's Monsanto now.
I forget which, I don't know if this is in the 90s where they sent, I don't think it was, maybe it was Bayer, it was aspirin.
Pharmaceutical companies now own the seed.
Well, their stuff was tainted with the HIV virus.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then they got caught. And
I'm pretty sure that was Bayer.
Yeah, I think
not positive.
Yeah, well, they sent it all to Africa.
Yeah, jeez.
I'm like, wow. So they weren't, I'm sure they probably sold it for half price or whatever they had to do.
I mean, there's a reason why we would do that. I mean, not us, but the power players. I mean, how many Africans does the elite class really need?
Well, it's the corporatocracy that is taken over.
That's what I'm talking
People need to understand what that term is. I mean, these are corporations that have taken over the republic, the democracy. Well, we're actually a constitutional republic. Let's get that straight right off the rip.
People don't even know what that is or what it means.
Well, why don't you explain it to them then?
It's about the rule of law that is supposed to protect the individual from the mob and from the government. That's liberty. That's what liberty is. Because governments are mobs, and mobs are mobs. Democracy is mob rule.
Yeah, it is.
We are a constitutional republic run by a representative democracy. It sounds pretty complicated. It is sort of complicated, but it's the most just design I've seen. It's totally perverted and infiltrated at this point. But speaking on just the framework.
Well, you got capitalism involved with it, which has been turned into crony capitalism.
Sure.
So we have a corporatocracy run by crony capitalism.
Yeah.
And
it's been that way for a really long time.
Moving to your society where everybody's giving you everything for free, socialism is not going to be the answer.
That's just another form of evil, man.
Yeah, and communism, more evil. I mean, at least within the republic, the constitutional republic, if you go by the laws written by our forefathers, it protects you from government and, thieves, mobs,
and
whatever.
The mob.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what other option is there? I mean, I'm sure people will come up with this
for justice.
Yeah, well, not only justice, but prosperity as well.
Yeah, I can't think of one, man. For freedom and liberty, that's it. That's it.
Well, just as the Mexicans are dealing with the mob rule taking over government, the cartels killing and murdering officials and political people, and they're bribing them, and they're moving them to make policies and look the other way when they do certain things.
It's a much more corrupt and violent base version of kind of what happens in our nation.
Right.
To be
Our
honest,
nation
man.
is all behind closed doors for the most part. Somebody gets caught every once in a while. They throw somebody under the bus to make us all happy.
Yeah.
But they
It's not a literal war in the streets,
Right.
though.
It's a continual bribery. It's a continual idea where profiteering has to be cyclical. It has to continue on and on and on.
Yeah, you just hit it with the way economies work. It's not just the existence of wealth. This may be hard for people to understand until they understand it, but it's not just the existence of wealth that makes wealth valuable. It's the movement of money. It has to constantly be moving, or the value falls out of it.
Well, also confidence has to be there in the dollar. So
that's what gets it moving.
Yeah. Well, speaking of money and speaking of going into Mexico and trying to do something, we had a situation back with Gaddafi, Muammar Gaddafi.
Jeez.
I've talked a lot about him.
Yeah.
But,
I'm not sure he was so bad.
well, he was. There's a lot of instances where he was supreme master leader type deal, and he killed people.
Did he? I don't know that much, man.
He was a communist leader, dude.
Yeah.
But
well, his nation seems like it was doing pretty good.
Yeah, his nation was prospering like crazy. But here's what happened. This is why he got invaded. This is why he got killed. And it was because he was trying to form his own currency.
He wanted a gold standard currency.
Backed by gold. Now here, let me.
Rothschild said no.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see here. Let me read this to you for a second here. Gaddafi was not killed for humanitarian purposes, but for the oil and for the money. His ideas of an African gold-backed currency were his major undoing. So, the media sold it to us like, he's killing all his people, he's gassing them, he's doing this, he's doing that. We got to go in and do something about this. Okay, so we go in and come, but that's not what happened. So I think this came from the recent Hillary Clinton email leaks. They opened up a can of worms where everybody, including Africa, was involved in this. And WikiLeaks released it as an unclassified U.S. Department of State document emailed to Clinton dated April 2nd, 2011. The sender of the email confirmed what the world already suspected. Gaddafi was not killed for humanitarian purposes, but for the oil and for his money. So in April 2011, the president of the World Bank spoke at a panel discussion about how he hoped the World Bank would have some sort of role in the reconstruction of Libya along with other countries. So they go in there, they destabilize it. Now they're talking about, what are we going to do?
Make money tearing it down, make money building it up. Make money. That's just like the drug war and the cartels, man.
Yeah,
it's the same movement.
All right, so to the ordinary person, this was the World Bank hoping to come in to help a failing state. But the World Bank was not to be considered as fulfilling its mandate. It was actual fact that a U.S. bank, together with its sibling, the IMF, the United States controls about 16% of the World Bank, while the second largest member, Japan, has a 7% stake in it. And I go on, and it goes on, and it goes on. Pretty much, it just talks about the corporatocracy and how Libya wanted to get out of...
They wanted to be truly sovereign.
Yeah, they wanted their own money. They didn't want to deal with the money powers of the rest of the world, like the Western money and the IMF too.
The New World Order, basically.
Yeah, he didn't want to be involved with that. He wanted, and his country was doing good.
Yeah,
there was colleges, buildings were being built. They were selling their oil. They were,
From what I do know about Libya, it seemed like it was pretty utopian, man. I don't know how he was controlling that or what kind of consequence or law there was going on, but it seemed like they were just, for lack of a better way to describe it, all rainbows and gold coins,
Yeah. Well, do I know the truth about that? No. But sounds pretty logical to me. Just like they're going over in Syria and they want to go after Assad all the time for gassing his people, even though he's defeating ISIS.
I want to talk about this on some other show because it's a big subject. I've been looking into this lately. Actually talking to Zig about it a little bit if you're watching, dude.
What's up, Zig?
Hey, what's up? Yeah, dude. I was talking to him a little bit about, because he was there for a long time. He knows more about this stuff than we do and following it and the intricacies of how that war is going down. But, yeah, Assad is a big subject. He's not the monster that we're told he is.
Well, the point I'm trying to get to here is, our military and government will go into these other countries and take out leaders left and right.
Yeah.
For reasons that aren't even really known to the American people, and they don't even support going over there in the first place.
Yeah.
Half of them aren't even paying attention to begin with.
Yeah.
So we'll
That's
go over
the
there and
biggest factor.
we'll go over there and do that, but we won't go over to Mexico and handle this situation because it is affecting our country deeply. It's really bad. People are dying over here from the drugs. These drugs come through Mexico.
Well, the whole thing here is that it wasn't even about us. It was about what's going on there and why they're coming here.
Right. There's a huge amount.
It's about their people.
Yeah, and we need to. You want to be world police. You want to freaking go in and help all these other countries. Well, Mexico needs help right now. These poor people are running across the border. They're getting demonized as soon as they get here. Because what do we know? We don't know if they're part of the cartel.
It's guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, but we don't know if they're part of the cartel.
Just like us, really.
We don't know if they're part of the government of Mexico. We don't know what they're doing over there.
Yeah.
It could be a little old lady that seems innocent as hell, but she might have strapped to her a kilo of freaking heroin or something. You just don't know. And
it may be against her will.
Yeah, she could be a mule. You just don't know.
Her daughter is in a room somewhere, tied up and
being held captive.
They're gonna cut her throat on camera and send it to the rest of her family if she doesn't get that heroin over here.
Yeah. It is an issue. I mean, you got to be scared letting these people in here. MS-13 and these other gangs are here. They're here. ISIS is here. They're here hiding somewhere. Some of them are hiding. Some of them are not. Some of these Mexican gangs, some of their soldiers, they're getting caught in America. I mean, Atlanta, they're getting, in the beginning, they're getting their house raided. There's a situation in Ohio not too long ago where a whole family was slaughtered.
Yeah.
At was that like a trailer park or something? I don't remember what that was. I played that in the beginning too. And nobody knows who did it. Nobody ever found anybody. Nothing's ever been done about it.
Yeah.
So, is this a drug cartel that came in? Maybe these people were dealing in heroin and getting stuff from the cartel.
Well,
cartel was letting them move it. They didn't pay their dues and they got killed.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, they'll slaughter you. They'll
kill everybody in your family. Everybody.
I saw a freaking, I don't know what picture this was, but it was a picture where they skinned a dude's face off.
Yeah, I've seen all that stuff.
And they spread it out, and then they cut his hands and his leg and his feet off, and they put his hands on top, and they put his feet on the bottom. And
it's all messages, man.
Yeah, and that is insanity.
It's plata o plomo.
Well, they need to... And no. U.S. government, world police isn't going to do anything about it.
Basically, you're approached, and it's the plata o plomo. Which one do you want, silver or lead? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't get a choice.
Yeah, you don't get a choice.
MS-13's history, the MS stands for Maro Salvatrucha. Maro Salvatrucha, I think is pretty much how you say it. It means Salvadorian army ants. I don't know if anybody is old enough to remember, but there was a civil war in El Salvador about 35 years ago, early mid-'80s kind of thing. Lots and lots and lots of orphans. It was nasty, nasty war. And a bunch of orphans, what do? They form gangs, That's where MS-13 comes from. Salvadorian army ants. It's a bunch of orphans trying to find sandwiches, man.
Yeah, well, they form these gangs, and these gangs can become their family. It's a family.
Yeah, and it's generations deep now, and they're a cannibalistic family. They'll eat their own, man. It's very, very, very violent, and it's all in the name of money, working for illicit trades, and big money and big violence.
Well, the American citizenry needs to get their head out of their ass and stop arguing with each other. This division is only bringing us closer to a nation controlled by laws that you don't want. Laws that are draconian, laws that take away your privacy, which is already happening.
Well, that's another reason not to, to wage a drug war in the first place, is to make law to bring more oppression on people for their safety. And they believe that crap, man.
Yeah.
They don't see the bigger picture, and they don't see how it got that way and who started it and why it's there. And they don't see the agenda. It's in the shadows. It's right there. And they, please keep us safe. No, you know what? You don't.
Keep yourself safe.
Keep yourself safe.
That's what it's all about. Take away the guns, you're not keeping yourself safe anymore. Don't depend on government. Depend on your neighbor. Depend on your friends.
You don't get safe by losing rights and freedoms. That doesn't make you safe.
Yeah, they're here inherently, our rights.
Yeah.
The government doesn't give them to you. Government can't take them away from you. They can make laws saying that you can't have them, but that doesn't mean they're gone.
Well, they can. Yeah, they can take them away, like control them, but they're always there. Right? Rights are there in every sentient being, even non-human.
Well, looks like it's the end of the show there, buddy.
Yep.
Thanks to everybody for listening. Go to complaintboxes.com. Check us out. Until our next show, I thank you for listening.
The Bob and Bob Show.
The Bob and Bob Show.